Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are talking about retirement travel scams you need to avoid. And we've been traveling full-time for almost 7 years now, and there's a lot of things that we've run across that we thought we share a lot of, the fun, cool stuff, all those types of things, but there's also things you run into like scams that you definitely want to avoid. Some of them, will put you in can put you in danger. Some of them will cost you a lot of money, and just a lot of other things. So we've got a whole list here for you, so buckle up. Here's the first one.
First scam you need to avoid is airport pickups, and this is a huge scam. When you go places, if you've never traveled overseas, you may be kind of surprised what happens once you exit the airport. You will be inundated with people trying to get you to go for a ride with them, and this is a scam. So normal taxi drivers and the taxi line that you would get in, they do not walk around the airport approaching people. They just sit at the taxi line because there's a line of people and they pick up whoever's next. So if someone is approaching you saying, want a taxi? Hey, I got a taxi. Hey, I'll take you to your hotel. They'll follow you. They'll be very persistent. You just either ignore them or you just say no right to their face and just say, I'm walking on. You do not ever want to go with someone that approaches you at an airport for a ride. There are things you can do though, if you don't want to get in the taxi line, because that's also not always the greatest idea. We try to use either Grab or Uber wherever those are available.
Yeah, those are really good to rely on because those give you a set price or price range right in the app, even if you're going to be picked up by a taxi, which in a lot of countries, Uber is basically ordering a taxi, and Grab is essentially the Uber of many countries, especially around Asia. And so it's important to have that price kind of already set, because even if you get in the taxi line, sometimes once you get in that taxi, drivers will still try to give you like a set price, like, oh, I'll take you there, it'll just be 500 and we don't have to worry about the meter. You also have to think about that because if you do get in that taxi line and you get in one of those taxis and you get in that situation, you just keep telling them no, that you want to have the meter on, and immediately take your camera out and take a picture of their ID, because they'll forget about it. Then they'll be like, okay, yeah, no problem, we'll use the meter. They turn it on because they know you already have their information then.
Yeah, another thing I like to do is if I do have to get a taxi and there is Grab or Uber available, I'll just look up what the price would be on Grab or Uber. And the price is going to be a little bit more with the taxi, but if they're trying to charge you double or triple the price, then you just need to walk away and find someone who's going to give you a real price. There are other situations where airport pickups can just be really bad, and in those situations we will book a car ahead of time, and for those we use a service like Klook or Welcome Pickups.
Yeah, and Klook is fantastic because it works in almost every single country. They have a way of doing, airport transfer to and from your hotel to the airport. So those are really great because the price is already set, you already pay it, and the driver will usually, in many instances, contact you beforehand, or they'll send you information on how to reach the driver. A lot of times they'll wait for you when you come out from customs with a sign with your last name on it. The other one, and Klook, like in Bali, they even have like a lounge where you can go and sit in the Klook lounge, and they give you complimentary water, and sometimes they'll have like snacks there. So if your driver is not there yet, and if you've been to Bali, you know how crazy it is when you come out of the airport and you run into what seems like 1,000 drivers. It can be really crazy. So it's really nice to have that. The other one we use, which is just a little bit more, is Welcome Pickups, but in some countries, you're better off just doing that. We've used it in many countries around the world, and it has been really good. They've done such a great job. They've always been there. They've always had a sign with our name. They carry your bags or help, drag your bags to the car. And it's usually a really nice car too.
Yeah, you will pay 10% more with Welcome Pickups, but you will have a great experience. The driver will speak English. They will it's like white glove service. You will not have any problems. And there's just countries where it's like, I don't really know what's going on here. Just get the Welcome Pickups. It's going to be stressful enough already. Do that. And then in some countries like Japan, if you're coming from one of the airports, you can just take the train into the city. It's very easy. This also applies to the UK. You can do this. Places like this, you can just do that and just forego the taxi altogether. So this is one of the biggest things, though. You will be shocked. I remember the first time we landed in Saigon. We got off the plane. We walked out of the airport. We did not have a plan. We did not know there was going to be 100,000 people outside the airport waiting to ask us if we needed a ride. It was just complete chaos. And you're standing there with your bags. You can't move very fast, so you're an easy target. You're just going to be swamped with people in most of these countries who are going to want to give you a ride or a service or anything. Just book it ahead of time. You will save yourself so much heartache. The next scam we're going to talk about, this is ATMs and stores. And it's currency conversion. This is a scam, okay? When you take money out of the ATM or when you pay with your credit card at a store, they will ask you, do you want us to convert this to US dollars, or do you want to take your money out in euros or Thai bahts or whatever? And if you put convert to US dollars, they're going to convert it at a terrible rate, and it's going to cost you a lot of money to do that. So always just pick the local currency when you're paying.
Absolutely, and in some cases, management has told the cashiers to always choose, whatever currency the foreigner is using, so that they can get, a better rate for the conversion, but it doesn't help you out. So sometimes they'll click it before you even get the opportunity to choose. So make sure that you're paying attention when you're paying with your card, especially, that they don't automatically hit, your currency. Make sure that you're always paying in the local currency. And again, with the ATM, same thing. Make sure you're always taking it out. They word it so that you think you are not getting a good deal by not taking their conversion. You are going to automatically get a bad deal if you take their conversion. So always decline that. And they always move it around, and sometimes it's in a different order depending on what machine you're using. So make sure you're looking at it and reading it so that you don't get, you don't lose more money too.
All right, this next scam is one that we've been seeing in the last few months, this year, and it's really targeted at people who are wanting to make a little extra money while they travel, and this is being done by influencers, people that we see on TikTok, on Instagram, even on YouTube, and they're talking about ways that you can make money as a retirement traveler, and these are just simply lies. You cannot make money doing some of these things, and we're going to break those down for you, because not only are they trying to get you to give them money to figure out how to do this, but then they're going to have you waste 6 months of your time working on something that just simply isn't going to work. And we've seen this a lot lately, so we're going to break this down for you because we have been kind of experts in this field. The first one is selling your travel photos. I'm a professional photographer. We have sold over 1 million photos this way, travel photos, all kinds of photos, and we stopped doing it about 2 years ago because you simply cannot make money at it anymore. And I see all these people saying, I'm making such and such dollars selling my pictures I took with my iPhone, and it just makes me laugh, right?
I think it's so wild that this is creeping up now when it has declined drastically. It's a business that we did really well at. You were one of the top stock photographers in the US for many, many years, and it had its heyday. But as everybody knows, AI has taken over. And although it's incredibly helpful, it's not helpful to those who were making a living at it. So unless you're doing AI images, your pictures off your iPhone are not going to make you, millions of dollars. It's just not something that's feasible. And I think it's just so foolish. Whenever I see it, I'm just like, I can't believe they're still trying to get people to do stock photography when it's on the way out the door. I mean, it is almost dead.
Yeah, it is. And, we've sold 1 million photos doing it. If it was still doing well, we'd be doing it. We would be doing it. But we are not, because you just cannot make money doing that. You're going to just, if you're listening to people that are trying to sell that to you, run away from them, because They're not telling you the truth for whatever reason. The next one is going to be podcasting. You can't make money podcasting. That's ridiculous. Because it's hard enough to get an audience as a podcaster. The second thing is you then have to go out and sell your own ads. And that's the hard part. It's the easy part is getting the audience. The hard part would then be going and saying, okay, well now I got this audience of 1,000 people listening to my podcast. Who wants to give me money for this ad? And you have to do that on a continual basis. It is almost impossible to do, and you will not make the money that is worth the time being a podcaster. But we see people doing it and trying to sell other people and doing it all the time. That's a scam because they're not making any money themselves.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting is they do their podcast, but then they also try to do a YouTube channel off of it.
Everybody does, yeah. And the only reason they're doing a YouTube channel of their podcast, you've probably noticed this trend. All podcasts now have YouTube channels because guess what? What I said earlier, you can't sell ads as a podcaster. YouTube sells the ads for you. That's why they're all putting their podcasts on YouTube, because selling the ads is the hardest part. And that's how you make your money. So that brings us to the only viable option, which is YouTube. And that's what we've been touting here. You know, we could have been selling people how to do courses on stock photos, how to do podcasting, but those aren't going to work. And we don't want to tell you something that's not going to work. So we are telling you, you can make a ton of money on YouTube though.
Absolutely, and we share on here monthly our income with our YouTube videos. We have a variety of channels, and it really is, and we say this repeatedly, an opportunity of a lifetime, because while these other things that we've talked about are either on the decline or are not set up for you to make money, YouTube is set up for you to make money. Where else can you start a business from zero and start making money in a few months, you know, or even within the year on the plus side? Because YouTube brings you the customers, they bring the ads to you, and they bring them to your videos. Not only that, they customize it to the people who are watching your videos.
Yeah, so this is a big scam out there from influencers. I saw a girl saying she made $500,000 a year selling travel photos from her iPhone. That's just laughable. Even when I was one of the top 20 photographers in the world, when the market was doing well in stock photos, I was only making about $150,000 a year. So it's just a lie. It's a lie. Also, don't do blogging. AI is taking over blogging. Don't do that. If you're gonna try to make money, there's one answer. It's YouTube. That is the one.
Yeah, and we do have a course if you guys are looking to doing YouTube, something you were considering. We did put together a course. It's down in the description, the link for it, and just kind of tells you all the things that we have learned over the years, and is going to help you to streamline your process to success.
Okay, the next scam is going to be Airbnb, and you've heard it. You know people are getting scammed on Airbnb. You don't want to get scammed, so we're going to tell you how to avoid that. The first thing is you only want to stay with a superhost, and superhosts are basically, they're not vetted, but they've had good reviews and they've met a high standard. They don't cancel on people, and that's what it takes to become a superhost. We've never had a problem with a superhost, but there are people that have had problems with superhosts, and there's a real kind of scammy quirk they're doing now with Airbnb is that someone will create an account and get some good reviews, become a superhost, and then they'll basically become a listing agent for a bunch of other people in that city, and they'll take the apartments of non-superhosts and put them under their superhost account, take a portion of the money when they rent it out, because the people that aren't superhosts aren't getting rentals, and you know that becomes a pretty bad situation. So you really have to dig into the reviews, dig into the listings. Ask yourself, is this person a listing agent and they're listing hundreds of properties for other people all around the country, and none of these people are really superhosts? Or is this person someone who's actually doing it, they care about their property, they have, you know, integrity, and they've got all good reviews, and you'll see a difference, because those people will be rated like 4.9 or higher. The people who are doing the listing agent thing, their ratings are going to be lower. Their overall rating is going to be like 4.6, 4.7 because they're still getting some bad ratings along the way.
Yeah, I think this one is so important because it's your housing, and a lot of times for those of us who are traveling full time and doing slow travel, you're staying in places for a long time, so you're booking a place for a month, so you at least a month in most cases, so you want to make sure that you are paying attention to that exactly, to if it's a listing agent or if it's an actual person who has earned the superhost status. And there's an easy way to just go and look at who is this superhost, what are their other properties, and all that kind of stuff. In order, you got to really do your job to vet them yourself.
Yeah.
And that's how you can avoid it. Because, like I said, even if they're superhosts, you could have this issue.
Because we read the reviews not only a property that we're booking, but on the person's other properties. That will give you the full picture, because maybe no one's had a problem at this particular property, but if they've had problems at other properties, that's a red flag as well. Now, you do make your booking and you're going to be talking to this host. You always want to communicate through the app, because if there is a dispute, if there needs to be a resolution, Airbnb is only going to take into account the things that were said in the app. If a host or someone is trying to get you to communicate in WhatsApp for problems, that is a problem. That's a red flag. We communicate in WhatsApp for other things with them sometimes, but for the most part, if you're doing anything official or any request or like that, it needs to be through the app.
Yeah, I think that's very important. You are going to get so many hosts that are going to ask you, oh, do you want to communicate on WhatsApp, or send me your WhatsApp number. Make sure, like what I always do is the message that they send me there, I repeat it on Airbnb. And say, per this request on WhatsApp, and I'll put it in there if that happens, and then they reply to me in there, because that helps them understand that that's where I want to communicate. So it's important, to move it over to Airbnb, because that is all that's going to show up. And then the other thing is that when you book a listing, when you book an Airbnb, make sure that the second you book it, you screenshot everything that's going to be included, or anything that was, in the description, anything like that, all of it, screenshot all of it.
Yeah, and we even click on the house rules, screenshot all of that, because you're not only screenshotting for what's there, you're screenshotting for what is not there. We've had instances where hosts came in after we were already in the apartment for a week or two and tried to add some fees in. And so we had screenshots that, hey, this listing showed there was nothing there. We have a screenshot that part is empty. And they tried to actually open a case on us, saying, because they said, hey, you need to pay this fee. We said, no, we're not paying that fee. It wasn't in there when we booked. And they actually opened a case, and Airbnb asked us about it. We sent Airbnb the screenshots. They're like, oh yeah, you don't have to pay. So you gotta have a screenshot of the entire listing right after you book. Yeah, it's kind of sad that is what it comes to, but it is what it comes to, and so you need to protect yourself. Next one's going to be car rental scams. Yeah, this is bad in some places, and there's not a lot you can do about it except for take pictures and video of everything. When we rent a car, we will take at least 20 pictures of the car before we leave. We will take a video of the car, and the same thing when we return the car. Sometimes they're in a hurry. I don't care. They can wait for us to take our pictures and our videos. It doesn't matter, because one time we were in Norway and we had been in another country. I think we were in the Faroe Islands, and we returned a car, and then everything was fine. 3 days later, we got an email saying there was this dent when you returned the car. Well, the thing was, they didn't check the car till 6 hours after we returned it. Somebody must have hit it in between us returning it and them checking it, and we had pictures saying, look, this is what it looked like when we returned it, and then they dropped it. If we hadn't taken those pictures though when we returned it, they were going to try to charge us like $500 for that car.
Yeah, exactly. And the nice thing is that you take it right then, and then your picture has the time and date stamped on it. And so that's what we did, is we had to do a screenshot of the picture that we had taken, when we dropped it off. And what happened was, whoever was parked next to us, or somebody at some point had parked next to the returned car and hit it, and they dented it, but we did not. And that's the thing, is in a lot of countries too, you'll find that there isn't somebody who's meeting you afterwards. You just drop it off and throw your keys in a box and walk away and hope for the best. And that the best is probably not going to come.
Yeah, it's not going to come.
It's going to be the worst, because we've actually had that, I feel like 2 for sure, maybe 3 times have had it happen in different places where we return a car, there was no one there to return it to, so you drop it off and then they can say and do whatever they want at that point. So it's really important to do that. If you're not going to get all the insurances and all that stuff, really just take those pictures and videos, because that's going to protect you at the end of the day.
Next one's going to be people performing unwanted services for you, things you just simply didn't ask for.
Yeah, there's just so many instances where this happens. I think a big one that happens all the time is like if we're sitting somewhere together, whatever, eating dinner or whatever, and someone's walking around like selling flowers or something, and then they try to pressure you and buy her some flowers, whatever. It's like, okay, well, no one asked for flowers. Like, I don't want a flower if you've pressured somebody into selling it to them. There's a lot of things like that happen, right?
There are, yeah. So I think the way you get around that is you just have a conversation. If you're traveling with someone, a spouse, a girlfriend, whatever, just say, look, we're going to get pressured into doing things that we don't want to do, and you don't want that. You don't want me to buy you something just because I've been pressured into it. I don't want that. So let's just agree, when that happens, we're just going to say no. Because if we all band together and stop doing this, people will stop pressuring people into doing things. So you should just say no. Anytime someone offers you something or does something for you that you didn't ask for, just say, well, that's great, but I didn't ask for that, so I'm not paying for that. And then people will stop trying to run that scam.
Exactly. It's not like you were sitting there thinking, gosh, I wish somebody would walk up with flowers because I'd really love one right now, or I wish someone would come up to us and offer to draw us right now so that we can buy the drawing from them. No one's doing that. So it's obviously not something you actually want. So it's best to not engage and, purchase it, because then you're just encouraging that behavior to continue.
Yeah, exactly. So these are a lot of the scams we see out there. Hopefully this has been helpful to you to kind of understand a little bit about what you're going to be up against when you start traveling, and you can avoid some of these.
Exactly. Hopefully it has been helpful for you guys. Leave us your questions down in the comments section. If you enjoyed this video, give us a like and consider subscribing to the channel. We'll see you next time.